I'm definitely happier.
Honestly, it's just the fact living the rise is just literally a luxury.
Not everyone is able to afford luxury,
Just live at the rise, place to be.
There are definitely buildings that are better worth the price. My name is Erin Joya.
My name is Samuel Epstein.
My name's Max.
I live in the Metropolitan. It is an apartment building on West College Ave.
We're at the Rise State College, located at 532 East College Avenue.
We're here in my apartment in Campus Tower. It's right above DPW.
So the Metropolitan was being built while I was a freshman, and sophomore year, a lot of my friends lived here and said it was really nice. So senior year, I decided to live here.
We were originally looking at the Edge, and the Edge was just kind of filled up, so that was kind of our first choice. We kind of got, kicked out of that one.
I absolutely love living here more than the fraternity house. The fraternity house is disgusting. Here we have some order and structure, and I have my own living room.
The Edge is newer, and I think that's one of the reasons why it filled up so fast. I think that a lot of people wanted to get into this new building. I mean, just kind of like some of these other buildings that are popping up that are new. The rooms are really nice, and people that can afford them want to be able to live there rather than the other apartments that, are dated.
So some of the best amenities at the Met, definitely the pool and the hot tubs. And then there's also a gym, and there's a bunch of different study rooms, which is really nice.
Rise has a lot of amenities. They're all great, countless amounts of them. They have hot tubs, barbecues, gyms, turf fields, cornholes, study rooms, mail rooms, a whole bunch of stuff that I'm not used to.
In terms of development that's happening in State College, we're really in the biggest building boom since the 1970s. I mean, this is something that's happening all across the country as far as university communities that are seeing a lot of purpose-built student housing that's coming online.
I think that the high-rise buildings popping up I think they're just kind of a little bit unnecessary, because we do have a lot of apartment buildings that could be renovated on their own rather than just like building all these random 20-story high ones.
Historically, the relationship between the university and the community when it comes to student housing has been for the private sector to build more of that housing off campus. So when you look at the other Big Ten universities, Penn State's in the lower half as far as the number of beds that they have on campus.
Penn State's 1852 or 1856 was started. So you have all these buildings that look like they're from that time period. So this is just one of those buildings that stood out as like a crown jewel. I mean, you have the Metropolitan, and then you have the here currently being built.
With the construction of here being built right outside, that's very big and much so of annoyance. I wake up a lot of days just like early on hearing them jackhammering and stuff, and that's like really bothersome. You look out the window, it's just like this big monstrosity of construction and stuff like going on.
I'm definitely for the construction. I mean, construction is always a good sign. When you see things popping up, it definitely means that one, more people are applying here and coming here, and two, it means they're making more space to fit the means necessary to house all these students.
What's happening now, I think, is now there's so much more supply coming on that we're finally starting to see, rent signs, more vacancy in some of the older buildings that are not the luxury student housing that's right downtown, or these sort of cottage style developments in the townships.
I think that since the high-rise buildings are so expensive now, and a lot of the older buildings aren't, that the pricing has to eventually kind of level out, or they have to make some of these high-rise buildings a little bit cheaper in the end.
Not everyone is able to afford luxury, and I don't know if that's really going to change the demographic of the college and make it more suited to only people who, are really wealthy, or if like all the students who aren't as affluent are just going to be pushed like farther and farther off campus to places like the Retreat and stuff like that.
I personally think that we're doing a good job in getting new residential units into the market. I also think that this will help at a macro level push down rent in the region somewhat. So I think it will make it more affordable, the older units at a macro level. I think the luxury stuff downtown and sort of cottage style development, Station, the retreat, etc. I think those will still be pretty high rent.
I think living here, while it is a tad pricier than other locations, it does put into perspective the fact you need to be more conscious in other areas of the spectrum.
I think that having these luxury apartments like in downtown State College, I don't think that's a problem in itself, but I think the main problem is that they're just trying to get rid of all of the lower cost apartments. A&W Sons just lost a bunch of places like Cedar Brook and Beaver Hill, and they're going to be like tearing down those, and those are like pretty old.
The real engine to develop this is the private sector money, and that there's developers who have a profit motive, obviously to build the buildings and then to maintain them. I do worry that there's not always a great understanding of the local market here from some of the folks who are making decisions to build. The negative potential effects is that we overshoot, oversupply, and the private sector doesn't get the signals that they need to stop, they need to slow down. We overbuild. But when we talk about some of the biggest goals to be achieved, one of the biggest objectives from the public side the Borough Council's had for many years is a desire to get more commercial square footage downtown. So the way the zoning is set up is to basically say, well, we want more for the student housing than just a residential tower. We want commercial space so that we can have offices and we can have more retail. It's one thing to want to live across from campus. You can roll out of bed and be in class hopefully 15 minutes. But we also want it to be a great experience living downtown. We want it also to be a community focus. It's not just about students living downtown, it's also about families and others being able to come downtown and enjoy being in State College. So trying to find that balance is something that we work pretty hard at.
The last thing I'd say about living at the Met is that there are definitely buildings that are better worth the price.
The Rise is great. Think about it. Snowy out. You're in State College. You want to leave. You got a barbecue to cook at. You got a gym to lift in. You got a hot tub to rehab in. You got study rooms to study in. You got a kitchen to cook in. Just live at the Rise. Place to be.
Hey, I mean, if you have the money, I mean, that's what you can do. And like, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you can afford it, yeah. But I mean, it's just a problem that, taking out the other apartments.